in kind of 1970 to 1973, David Bowie and Mick Ronson were at the apotheosis of their game. Literally everything they touched turned to gold. They had the Midas touch. I have several intersections with David Bowie in, like, say, 72, 73, via the fact that I actually played in a band with a guy whose dad was going out with Angie Bowie. I intersect with Annette Peacock and Paul Bley. I intersect with links to Velvet Underground, and I also intersect via Ronnie Ross. I shaved my eyebrows. That's petty homage to Bowie. And also, not to forget later, that David Bowie was a major fan of Peaky Blinders. Basically, in kind of early 1970, David Bowie was looking for somebody. And one of the guys in the band, who was from Hull, said that there was a fantastic musician with an incredible image in Hull, called Mick Ronson. Now, I'm influenced by Mick Ronson. I love Mick Ronson, and I also love Hull. Shout out to Hull. Great city, great people. Hull, magic. So emissaries from Bowie were dispatched to Hull, and basically they found Mick Ronson lining Hull Rugby Union rugby pitch with lime, marking it out with lime, and asked him would he be interested in joining Bowie's band or coming down for an audition to London, and he said he would. Came down to London, got into the band on the spot. Several days later was on the John Peel show. So, you know, kind of like Mick Ronson is a highly influential guy. Your favourite grunge stars, your favourite punk stars, post-punk stars, new wave stars, new romantic stars, and even rock stars were all influenced by Mick Ronson, both, you know, through image and also, you know, fashion and music. So, like, on several different angles, he's highly influential, and they had himself and David Bowie together, and for other people had hit after hit after hit, until basically Mike Garson came into the band. Lovely guy, brilliant piano player, from Annette Peacock's band with Paul Bley, and banter at the back of the bus on tour. And he asked Mike Garson, how much does he make? And Mike Garson said, I make £1,500 a gig. And Mick Ronson was getting paid £50 a week on retainer. And Mick Ronson went to David Bowie and said, like, what's the game here? And immediately David Bowie said, I'm breaking up the band. That's it, man. It's all over. So that was it. But again, you know, Ronson even admitted this. Thousands upon thousands of people were coming to see David Bowie. But reciprocally, thousands upon thousands of people were coming to see Mick Ronson. And he was a major, major, major star. And, you know, they were over. I mean, like, he left the Ziggy Stardust zeitgeist and walked straight into a major recording deal. And the thing is, Mick decided to go down the kind of Americana route. There's nothing wrong with Americana. Bill Frisell, whom I replaced in the Paul Bley group, has made a serious career out of Americana, plays all over the world to full concert halls. But the problem with Mick Ronson was that the fans were expecting Ziggy Stardust 2.0, and Mick provided kind of folksy Americana type stuff, and they didn't, like, because it was Mick and because of David Bowie, the album it got into the number, you know, top 10 in the charts kind of thing, but the second album got to like 30, so people were buying it on, predicated upon the fact that he was in Bowie's band and he was so important and so influential and so cool and so with it. And but literally, and I can vouch for this because you know I used to go to Tony Ryan's swap shop. Shout out to Tony Ryan. Tony Ryan, you're a legend and a great guitarist. And I used to go up there. It was a mecca for me. But at one point, the swap shop was the Mick Ronson shop because every album up there was practically Mick Ronson's because the David Bowie fans were buying them, listening to it like not even once and bringing it straight up to the swap shop and exchanging it for another David Bowie album. They didn't go with it. And again, like, what do you need? Like, in all fairness, like, you have that kind of success and, Ziggy Stardust wasn't done and David Bowie was getting out of it. So he could have easily done like Ziggy Stardust 2.0 with a tinge of Transformer, and and also I think that Mick would have been a brilliant frontman. He would have been a brilliant singer. He had a fantastic image and like really fabulous personality and a brilliant guitar player. And he could have very well have fronted the band and kind of, took on the persona of Ziggy Stardust and kind of, Ziggy 2.0 with a little bit of Transformer factored into the equation. But no. And even though like he kind of played with Bob Dylan's band on the Rolling Thunder tour, which was prestigious, that's third rate, fourth rate from what he could have had. Now, the Americana isn't all over. When John Cougar Mellencamp was making American Fool, it was kind of slow going. And John Cougar Mellencamp was actually signed by Main Man, David Bowie's management, in 1977, but it didn't work out. But his manager then knew Mick Ronson, and Mick Ronson was parachuted in for half the album. And with a little touch here, a little touch there, American Fool was a massive hit, including Jack and Diane, which was basically, Mick Ronson's touch, deft touch, and John Cougar Mellencamp recognised that. And American Fool was a massive hit, and Jack and Diane, like all over the world, that was a hit. And that was down to Mick Ronson. And Mick Ronson produced some albums by Morrissey and stuff to much acclaim. He was fantastic. But, just a little shout out to Mick Ronson because, he was absolutely fantastic as a musician, but also in fashion and stuff. He was very, very cool. But also, shout out to Hull. Hull is a great city with great people. Thank you very much for listening.